Hey, everybody. Really excited today to unpack how AI-powered transcription is reshaping everything from journalism to media and the future of content creation. Lasse, how are you?
I am good. Thank you so much. How are
Thanks for
you?
being here. I'm well. Thanks so much. From Denmark, one of my favorite destinations. But let's start from the beginning. What's the origin story behind Good Tape? What problem were you trying to solve back in the day?
So Good Tape has a bit of an untraditional backstory. We're originally what's called a spin-out. So we were spun out of a media company called Segment, which is also why we sort of almost had what I would say call instant product market fit, because we built something for the people that sat basically next to us, for the journalists. They were just basically screaming at every lunch saying, listen, I'm spending 4 hours every day just being a robot, transcribing, turning audio into text. It sucks. And whenever someone says something like that, it's like, okay, there's an issue here, that we then made a pretty bare bone solution to, like an internal folder where you could drag and drop, and then everyone went crazy and said it was like magic. And then it sort of just spread very organically when we made like a live version that people could just use for free. And then we got, I think it was like 18,000 users, just word of mouth in a month and a half.
Wow.
And really saw, okay, something's here. And then we went a little bit deeper and made it a little bit nicer, made the UI a little bit more friendly rather than just like a very bare bone piece of software. And then instant product market fit, and have just been growing ever since. And today we have about 2.5 million users.
Wow.
So doing well.
Yeah, indeed. And when you look at the media landscape today, and I consider myself a little media company, almost like a two-man band, but the big picture, how is AI changing the way that journalists and podcasters and creators like myself are working, big picture-wise?
I think if you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have said something different. Because back then it was very much a how can AI eliminate manual work or boring manual work and do something for you as a journalist. And now it's more of how much can AI do, or can we add another layer? It's already at that stage. But I think there's still a lot of it. Depends on what market you're looking at. If I'm looking at Denmark, AI adoption is just really high. Everyone sort of says, "Oh, I'll just ChatGPT this," or whatever. But if we're looking at other markets like Indonesia or the Philippines or Taiwan, there's just not as option. So just a speech to text being automated by AI seems like magic still. And it's just sometimes remembering that AI is everywhere in some countries, but not in all countries. So just really keeping that thought in the back of our minds when we develop things. That we're not necessarily competing with ChatGPT everywhere, just some places.
Well said. And Good Tape is known for not training its models on user data. That's very European of you. Well done. Why was that such a core value right from the beginning?
Because it's the first question everyone asks. And if you say you train on data, they just click the red button and say, they don't even say goodbye. So it's been like it's our access ticket to just get in the door, is to say we don't touch your data. I think there's a big thing at the moment, and I think we're going to be a bit clearer about it in the coming months, of how many of our competitors train on data without telling you. It's a bit of it's a topic very, very top of mind for me. That it's a bit, I call it like it's modern pickpocketing, to just take a little bit of data without you knowing it, but it's cheap and it's fast, but you're paying with something else.
Yeah, really well said. So there's a lot of layers to that. Confidentiality, is make or break in many industries, professions, journalism, but also in the enterprise corporate world. So how do you ensure that sensitive content actually stays protected?
So from the beginning, everything we do is built in-house. So we don't have just like an API or an endpoint somewhere like a lot of the like the ones popping up do. So everything is built and hosted in-house, and everything. I'm not afraid to say that we don't have as many features as some of our competitors do, but it's because we've allocated all of our resources to go and build the core part of it really well and really securely, and not just, oh, now you can do summaries, and then, oh, actually that's because it's an integration to ChatGPT, and then you upload your entire transcription. So everything is very securely, and then will be ISO certified, hopefully before the end of the year. Which is the worst thing I've ever done in my life. But it's just really saying like compliancy and doing things, being the nice guys is a pretty big selling point when a lot of the other guys are not being very nice.
Really, to say the least. And what do you think most people misunderstand, users, what do they misunderstand about things like ethics, accuracy, oversight you mentioned when it comes to transcription? We just look at it, it's magical, it works, and we don't think, or many of us don't think more about it, but what are we not thinking about?
A misconception that I really saw a lot in the beginning, but I'm also seeing it less and less, is that there's just this raw term of AI. So we heard a lot, especially in the beginning, where users would say, no, I'm actually not allowed to use ChatGPT in my work, and we're not ChatGPT just because we're AI. So there's degrees of information to understand just for example, that a lot of the enterprise houses have something where they say you can't use any generative AI, and then we're not generative, but the users don't really have that level of understanding the differences. So having to get past that barrier of understanding, that also requires that they trust you when you say, no, we're not that they don't just think you're trying to sell them something. So really the knowledge part of AI, which it's improving as we speak. It's way different now than it was 2 years ago, but I still hear it quite often.
Fantastic. And you have, I think you said, almost 3 million users. What do you think earned that level of trust so quickly, beyond being nice guys from a nice country? What else?
I think it is our approach to things, and it's a very we from the beginning decided that there's a cost to all features of simplicity. Like if you check out our platform, it's so simple. Like it's very neat and it feels very approachable and risk-free to just start using it. And then also just because it's such a clear need. Like I don't want to spend 4 hours doing this if something can do it for me in 1 minute and it's $10. It's a pretty easy sell. So it just spreads like wildfire if you're actually solving a problem.
Well said. Yeah, very good. And when you look at your competitors, and we won't get into specifics, but are there particular innovations or features, functionality you think that really set you apart, that you're proud of?
There will be. There is, of course, now. I think I'm really proud of us hosting everything ourselves and the accuracy of the core value we serve. But the roadmap is really taking us down something where I just came out of a meeting now where it's almost scary, the level of user feedback that we have to get to really nail it, because it's like it's a thing that it's not comparable to anything. It's sort of like without going too much into it, but we're going to try and make like an artificial memory that will remind you of things that you might have forgotten in some of your previous work, which is very difficult because you're trying to emulate memory, and my memory is very different from your memory. Of maybe you're reminded once every 10 seconds of something, and maybe I'm tired and only want to be reminded once every hour. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting direction to take, which will be much more than just transcription.
And multilingual transcription is exploding. You know a lot about that in Europe. But beyond that, I mean, global use cases, so many diverse industry needs for multilingual transcription. In the US, it's in contact centers, call centers, and we have a lot of different languages here as well. How do you think about that opportunity?
It makes my job both more difficult but also more fun, because it really becomes a job of saying no to a lot of things. If there's a large telecom enterprise potential client that says, we'll convert if you build this feature. But then if we decided, no, we're going to be for journalists, that will not be relevant at all. Then there's a cost again to implementing something. So it being such a generic technology that can sort of solve a very homogeneous problem across a lot of verticals is sort of a challenge in terms of really sticking to your strategy and really saying we're going to be something for these people. Because you can be something for a lot of people, but you just have to decide who you want to be something for. Which is it's on my table.
Lots of trade-offs for sure.
Yeah.
Can you give us a peek into your tech stack, sort of behind the scenes? How does it work? Maybe which LLMs do you use, and what kind of infrastructure do you need for transcription on such a scale?
Yeah, I can give a bit of a sneak peek. So we are running open source models, primarily Whisper v3 large. And then what we've focused on is just optimizing everything that's around the model. Because we actually saw a larger yield on that rather than investing resources into trying to fine-tune something. So a lot of companies pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into fine-tuning ASR models. But we've built... We usually say it in-house, like we focused on building the PlayStation, and then we're ready to switch out the PlayStation game and being the model. And really sort of relying on the open source community, and then at some point, of course, we'll give back. But we've really come far from optimizing everything that's around the model. And then we host, I think it's Llama v3 or something at the moment, to really also host everything ourselves. To host a large language model is quite an undertaking when you're not that big of a company. I think a lot of SaaS entrepreneurs or founders underestimate the cost of AI. When you then say, I'm a SaaS founder, they say, oh, fucking your gross margin must be 99%. But AI does actually have a cost, which was a little bit of a surprise when we came to hosting a large language model ourselves.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm sure the economics are fascinating. So zooming out, where do you see this whole industry headed over the next couple of years? Transcription, that is. What are some of the big picture trends you're looking at? And maybe just a sneak peek into your future. Like what ideas are you noodling on that you can share?
Yeah. I think there's going to be a big difference in who you're building for. I see a lot of people building for the everyday user. You have a lot of meeting integration agents that'll just transcribe and summarize everything. Where then we've really nailed down who we're something for, and we're something for the people that record something to use it. So I'm interviewing someone to use it. We're talking here because what I'm saying now will be part of the output. It's part of what value I am trying to create, which is very different to, I just want a summary of my meeting because I maybe want to remember it at some point. So from my point of view, there's two very clear distinctions of what is the need that you're building to solve for. And then I think structurally, I think we're going to see a lot of roll-ups. I think there's going to be a lot of M&A. There's so many popping up everywhere. So I think at some point it'll just be it'll just be who raises the most money and goes out and buys the rest, which is going to be interesting to see. And I think it's going to be soon. I think it's going to be within 2-3 years.
Yeah, fascinating. There are lots of entrepreneurs like yourself diving into this marketplace now with amazing apps and services. And it's sort of the Wild West out here in the US and around the world. Any advice for founders and entrepreneurs who would love almost 3 million users like yourself? What advice would you give them if they're just kind of starting out now?
I think a mistake that we're also making often, but we're catching ourselves in making it, is that with AI, you can build so many cool things, but just because you can build it doesn't mean that there's a need for it. So we're getting caught up often and getting very excited about all the things we can do, and to the extent that sometimes we're forgetting of why would we do it. And I see a lot of AI startups pop up where it's like, wow, okay, you can do that. Why? It's cool. And I can see that the technology is incredible and it'll be even more incredible in a year. But why? Who would buy it and solving? So just the idea of technology, the pace of technology has sort of overtaken the pace of problems, if that makes sense. That it's just there's so many things it can do, but it doesn't mean that there are equally more problems to solve, which is a trap I see a lot of people fall into.
Yeah, that's a lot of minefields out there. I'm heading into CES in the next few weeks, which is the big consumer powwow. And so far, I've seen at least 4 or 5 pitches for transcription devices, wearables and tablets and pins and accessories, all kinds of things. I mean, do you think there's a future beyond transcription in just using our phones and laptops? Are you looking at devices, or is this just kind of a diversion from them?
I think it's interesting because I've sort of allowed myself to believe in the future that every meeting in all companies will be transcribed at some point. If I were to do a Black Mirror episode, it would be that all tables in all meeting rooms had a microphone in the middle. For now, we've built a recorder app because everyone has a phone anyway. No need to develop a new piece of hardware that I then have to drag around. So it's just like for us, it's just I hold down the power action button on my phone and then it starts recording and transcribes. And I just put it on the middle of the table when I have a meeting. Very easy. So I don't see a need to develop hardware. Everyone has the hardware needed anyway. So just build an app and then, of course, do meeting integrations and all that.
It sounds like that's for sure. Although Facebook just bought a wearable device, so who knows what they'll do with that for transcription. But moving forward, what are you excited about as we head into the new year? Any travel? Any plans? Any news on the horizon we should listen out for?
I would say the product announcement, I hope it's going to be Q1, probably end of Q1, where we'll do a beta of what we call artificial memory. For now, it's name work in progress. We'll do that hopefully end of Q1, which will be everyone gets goosebumps when we talk about it in-house at least. So wow. I'm really
getting goosebumps now, just the name. I hope you trademark that because that sounds amazing.
I'll go
use one of those. Whatever it is, I need an artificial memory. So.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
We have this thing internally where there's at least one colleague who's like, I'm going to record everything my wife said. So
okay, and vice versa. Let's be equal opportunity offenders. Yeah. Wives can record everything the husband says as well. Yeah, of course, you're very egalitarian in Denmark. I know. Yeah. But thanks so much for joining. Really fun, interesting conversation. Seems like it's still early days. So much more opportunity for you and this industry.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to keep hold of that feeling that it's new, early days.
Thanks so much. And thanks everyone for listening and watching this episode. Also check out our Tech Impact.tv show now on Bloomberg and Fox Business. Thanks everyone. Thanks, Lasse.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.